Good evening, 8th graders. This is lesson 6. It's a context lesson, and it begins on page 23. So if you'll turn there, our first word, lesson 6, is anecdote. Anecdote. Do not get it confused with antidote. All right, this is anecdote. You don't really hear that C, but anyway, do not confuse them. An anecdote is a noun, all right, and it is a little side story or a brief little story that's meant to entertain or stimulate discussion. If you tell a brief anecdote at the beginning of a speech to get people interested in what you're talking about, that's an anecdote. Okay? Our next word, climactic. It's an adjective. You're familiar with the noun. Climax of a story is the highest point. So climactic would be reaching that highest point in a story. A highest point of tension, the climactic finale, tension building, and then we reach the top, the height of tension. That is climactic. It is an adjective. Our next word, epilogue. We had prologue before. Pro means, before, word. Logos is word, so before the word. Then epilogue, epi means after, so after the word, the words, the story. Alright, so a prologue comes before the story. An epilogue is something written for after the story that kind of tells you, briefly what happened next, or what was the final outcome. All right, that's an epilogue. Next word, one of the longest words, extemporaneous. Extemporaneous is an adjective. The O-U-S makes it an adjective. Now, today in Shakespeare, when we were reading Act 1, Scene 2, Snug wanted his lines for his lion part. He asked Quince, can I have those lines, because I'm slow at memorizing. I need to have my lines. And it's humorous because he's playing the part of a lion. And Quince says, just you do them extemporaneous, or extemporanea. And that's what this means. You do them without practice, all right, without any extra rehearsal or whatever. It's not something you memorize. This is off the cuff. There's an idiom. You're just going to do it without any practice, spontaneously. All right. So if you do something extemporaneously, it means that you do not prepare. You're just going to do it on the fly. Okay? You're going to do it without any practice. That's not the best way usually, but there are some situations, like in speech class. I remember we used to have to do extemporaneous speaking. We'd have to, we'd be given a topic and we had to get up and speak about it. Okay? So, it's good practice. But anyway, that's extemporaneous. The next word, fidelity. Fidelity is a noun. Okay? And fidelity, when you get married, you pledge your fidelity, your loyalty, your commitment. You're going to be true. Knights back in times of like King Arthur, they would pledge their fealty or fidelity to a monarch, okay, a leader, or to a fair damsel, okay. So fidelity is being faithful, and it also has kind of a sub-meaning. Well, you know how words just change in meaning. Fidelity, I mean, if you're doing like a reproduction of a painting, like my daughter does, and my husband do the reproductions of the master's work with chalk. Some works really test the fidelity to the piece. Are they portraying it like the original piece is portrayed? This can also be done with an actor and a character. Are they showing fidelity to the intent of that character? All right. Are they playing it accurately? Okay. Are they staying faithful to the character? Now, movies rarely, if ever, show any fidelity to books. All right. Movies based on books are just never good. They don't show fidelity to the books. Okay, they're not faithful to them. All right, our next one, forte. I explained this in the analogies for lesson 5. A forte is a noun, and a forte is a strong talent you may have, all right, or a strong point, or a skill that you have, all right. That might be your organizing or planning might be your forte. Your penmanship might be your forte, okay. Speaking extemporaneously may be a forte of yours. Okay, that's what forte means. Hypochondriac. Hypochondriac is person noun. And hypo means, you know, above and beyond the norm. Okay? And what a hypochondriac is, you may have heard of this before. This is a person who always believes that they are sick, that they have some malady, some ailment. Somehow something is wrong. I had an aunt, she died maybe 5 years ago, 6 years ago. Oh, she was always thinking that she had some rare disease, and she was always sick. So she always had to have like ginger snaps, or some sort of sweet that would cure it. Self-medicating with cookies and that sort of thing. Anyway, she was definitely a hypochondriac. She was quite a character. Let's see. The next word, prodigy, is also a person noun. Okay. A prodigy is a person who demonstrates their forte very young in life, very skilled in one area at a very young age. All right. Musicians who are playing or composing music at 10 or 8 years old, they are prodigies. Who's the Jackie something, I think her name is, young girl. She was on, what was she on? America's Got Talent or something. Jackie something. Anyway, she, a prodigy, could sing like, I mean, just amazingly well. You know, she opens her voice and it's like, what? That's coming out of her, that little girl? It sounded like a trained adult soprano, you know. Anyway, she's a prodigy. So, it's someone who shows extreme talent in an area at a very young age. Okay? Staunch is an interesting word because it can be an adjective or it could be a verb. So, if it's an adjective, it means faithful. I'm a staunch advocate of the right to life. All right, I thoroughly support that cause. I might be a staunch supporter of the Broncos. Well, I'm not, but I don't, professional sports, not so much. I'm a staunch advocate for literacy. All right, making sure everybody gets the opportunity to read. That's something I feel loyal or faithful to, okay? That cause. I'm a staunch supporter of that, okay? But the verb form of the word staunch, and it's the same spelling, is to stop the flow of something. You go to the hospital and you're bleeding badly. They will staunch the blood flow. I don't know, maybe some of you get bloody noses around this time of year. It's so dry and everything, you get bloody noses. So you might staunch the blood flow by, sticking a Kleenex up your nose or something like that. Okay? Or tilting your head back and pinching your nose, whatever. You want to staunch the blood flow. Okay? It means just to stop it. Okay? Our last word is stigma. That's a noun. And I explained that quite a bit with the analogies last time. Stigma is something that marks a person, and it's a stigma has negative connotations, definitely. All right, it's like they're marked. It marks the person in a negative way. Like the numbers that the Jewish people had to have tattooed, that would be just a wretched stigma, because it's always there, always going to remind them. All right, so it's something that it's definitely a negative marking. Okay, now it does have some other meanings. A stigma, I believe, is also like a portion of a plant. It's in a plant. I guess it's on the pistil on a flower, and that's where germination, the pollen is dropped on the stigma, all right, and germination takes place. Okay, so those are the two marks those are the two definitions for stigma. All right, I want to go ahead and remind you of the page numbers for context lesson 6. It is lesson 3 in your books, and it begins on page 155. 155, and it extends through page 160. Okay, I'm going to give just a quick overlook. There is a use of an example to get the context across, to get the meaning across in the context. There's an example let's see, there's some synonyms I'm seeing. Another example, I'm just doing a quick little preview here. Like 3 examples I'm seeing. So that's pretty, and synonyms. I'm not seeing, you know, a metaphor or a simile, but I'm giving just a brief look. It looks to me more of a giving examples and exact synonyms. Alright, but be sure to look for other ways, like be a positive or giving you the opposite meaning in order to convey the real meaning. Alright, so let's see, page 155 through page 160. That's the context lesson. Alright, hope that helps you out, 8th graders, and we'll talk to you again soon. Bye now.